Good afternoon. Throughout 1988, ITV have been able to spotlight the endeavours of most of the biggest names in the contemporary boxing scene. And once again, Jim Watt has joined me to reflect upon the pattern of the last 12 months. Jim, how do you rate 1988?
I think it's been a good year. We've had the usual one or two shocks, a few upsets, plenty of confusion, but thankfully no shortage of excitement. I think actually, yes, everything considered, it's been a very good year.
Well, one man has hardly been out of the headlines, but all too often the stories have not reflected much credit upon him or his connections. But he certainly started the year in a very dedicated frame of mind.
I'm going to have to get up at 4 and run when it's pitch dark. It has to be done. And the only reason I do it so early is because I believe that the other guy isn't doing it, and that it gives me a little edge. The most difficult part about fighting is the training, because believe it or not, the easy part about fighting is the fighting. Around a month before the fight, the only thing I think about is just training, constantly training. I enjoy it, but you know, it gets sometimes boring because it's just constantly repetitious, over and over, same thing, over and over. 80% of the training is all emotional. I try not to think about the fights, but usually I always think about the fight in my mind. While I'm in training, I would dream about the fight. And I always dreamed that I lose, and it was very scary. And I was, oh my God, what am I going to do now? And it's funny, when you dream you lose, you wake up thinking that you lost. And it's scary.
It was an engagement with Larry Holmes that opened Tyson's campaign in 1988. It couldn't have been cash that lured the former champion back, just pride and ego. It certainly proved an ill-judged venture.
We have to expect Holmes to find some success because of his experience and the fact that he was such a great fighter. But at all times, I'm sitting here waiting for something to happen in Holmes' direction.
Oh, beautiful punch stance. That was one out of the blue. Now, he used to have the best recuperative powers I've ever seen on a heavyweight, Holmes, but I doubt now whether he's going to recover from this. He's getting the full 8 count. What a peach of a punch now. Bolt out of the blue, just as he looked as though he was doing pretty well. Second time. Now, it won't necessarily happen if he does go down the third time, but his legs have totally disobeyed him now, Holmes. He's trying to get them back. He's got the experience of walking around the ring, listening to the Cortez's 8 counts. And there's plenty of time in the round now. Tyson won't let him off the hook surely now. What a brave fellow, the way he's walked back into this. Remarkable, but can he last out? 4th round. No, Father Time's going to lick him. His legs are spread. How is he standing up from that? Just tremendous guts. And my heart goes out to Holmes. And full credit for Tyson to say, hey, who's going to stop this caveman of a champion coming in? How is he managing it, Jim, with a countdown clock? Can he make the round or not?
Reggie, I can't believe he's still standing. These punches are tremendous punches, bang on target, and he's even trying to... Oh!
Well, that's it. He's waved the end there before the bell had a chance anyway. And what a brave showing by Larry Holmes that was. But as inevitable it was, a foolish comeback. Tyson looks down at the fallen man there. He just had a brief spell in the round when Holmes looked like he was starting to go well. But youth, as always, comes to win these fights like that. And this fella does look totally unstoppable.
I got to say, you know, giving Mike Tyson credit, you know, he's better than I thought he was. At least he punched better, and he is a true champion. They can talk about Spinks all they want, but this boy is just, it's very hard to hit. He's awkward, very awkward, and punches very good. So in my book, he's a champion. I think he should go down as such.
In March, it was Tokyo and Tony Tubbs, the former WBA champion, a prelude to the Spinks affair. The timing was interesting because it closely followed Tyson's surprise marriage to the TV star Robin Givens. She was welcomed to Japan by an enormous press corps and an adoring husband. The young Tyson was enthralled by the Eastern culture and was much taken with the traditional sumo wrestlers. He was expecting a tubby Tubbs in the ring, but the bulk these colossal frames achieve dwarfed the Iron Man. But it didn't take Tyson long to get the measure of Tubbs.
See, Tyson, the destroyer, has got to work on this fellow all the time, because It may not be one punch that would do it, as he did when he turned Larry Holmes over. The one punch started the sort of landslide. Oh, what's that? Good left-hand punch right through Tyson's guard, that went. He's getting shot. His body's broken up on him, Jim, and it's just as well he missed him with that one. It was amazing. We saw it happening, but it still came as a surprise. There was a big duel. What happened there, Jim?
There was a punch inside, Reg, which shook him up badly, but didn't seem to have an effect.
Now, let's have another look at that now. He had his back to our commentary position here. That was the left hook then that started the roll, and that was when he couldn't control his legs there. We thought it was a body punch at first, but what a punch that must have been to knock that big man over.
And so we came to the richest fight in heavyweight history, the long-awaited clash between Iron Mike Tyson and Michael Spinks. Some experts felt that Spinks, the former IBF champion, had the best chance of upsetting the undisputed champion. He was undefeated. But always at the back of one's mind lingered the thought that Spinks was really a light heavyweight.
That's the pattern, isn't it? Tyson's going to get straight after him. He's not going to hang around there. And he caught him with the elbow as well there. And the referee spotted it. Forearm, anyway. Spinks won't be able to stand early on anyway and punch it out with him. He's got to get on the move. That's sensible. Oh, the right hand planted in there. He's not going for another one-round winner here. I can't believe this, Mike Tyson. Will be 16 if he makes it. He doesn't lark about this man. Right above us here as the timekeeper's yelling the count there, and he gets a standing 8 count by Cappuccino. The crowd are going crazy. As much as they paid vast sums to come here with a one, and he's knocked him out. His head's right above us. And he looks as though he's almost unconscious. And they're not going to get him back up at all there. They're really not. What this man, Tyson, totally unstoppable. Incredible champion, and he says he's only 50% of what he thinks he's going to be. And I must say, I always thought he could walk right in and through Michael Spinks, but no way did I think it'd be as quick as that.
Well, the writing was on the wall in the first knockdown, but that was the second knockdown. The punch caught him high. Tyson got his shoulder behind the punch, and as soon as he went down, the way he went down and the way he just lay there, we knew he wasn't getting up again.
Watching at ringside was Frank Bruno, and having seen that 91 seconds demolition of Spinks, one had to wonder what was passing through Frank's and Terry Lawless's minds.
I wasn't really appreciative of what you guys, quote, the reporters, did to me. Building up to this fight, you tried to embarrass me, you tried to embarrass my family, you tried to disgrace us, and as far as I know, this might be my last fight.
Well, that was June the 27th, and in the intervening 6 months, he certainly hasn't fought. But his private life has been in absolute turmoil, Jim.
Yeah, well, since Tyson came on the scene, he's been a man without weakness. Nobody's been able to get at him at all, but now he's got himself married, and suddenly they have found a weakness, and they've really exploited that weakness. He's had to put up with the other side of the publicity. All the publicity Tyson's had over the years has been good, you know, promoting what he's been doing and full of credit. Now he's having the other side, and it's very difficult for him to cope with it.
How much is the death of Jim Jacobs, his manager, the cause for all of this, do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a great cause because Jacobs has been clever enough over the years to keep Tyson very busy in the gymnasium. He's hardly been out of the gymnasium in the last 3 years. But since Jim has died, he's spending too long out of the gymnasium now, so outside pressures are now coming in and causing him a lot of problems.
Well, he had so many problems. He had the business with Mitch Green and the punch-up in Harlem. We had the problems with the wife of the mother-in-law. And, of course, there was the car crash when it was said that he tried to commit suicide.
Yeah, I think we have to remember we're speaking about a 22-year-old, a very young boy who has all the money in the world, and suddenly he feels very vulnerable. He's lost, over the last few years, he's lost people very close to him, both Jim Jacobs and Customato, and he's having to cope with all of this. And he's in a very difficult situation. I think we have to expect some reaction.
What about his search for God now? He's just been baptized.
But that strikes me at this moment just one of the many things that's going to happen to Mike Tyson over the next couple of years. I don't know how sincere he is. I think maybe he feels he needs some help. As I said, he's just lost 2 figures in his life over recent years. Maybe he needs a figure, and maybe God is that figure at this moment in time. I don't really know.
Well, his next fight is projected for February, and of course it's Frank Bruno. How do you assess that one?
Well, I can't really see Big Frank giving Tyson much of a problem. I don't think Frank's in the same league as Tyson, and I hardly think Frank's... We were speaking about Tyson's preparation and how his life has gone. I don't think Frank's been preparing properly. He spent more than a year out of the ring. That hardly suggests a man who thinks he has a realistic chance of winning the world title. Frank should have had at least 2 fights in 1988. He hasn't had any.
Well, from Mr. Nasty to Mr. Nice, as the Boxing News put it. We'll come back with Barry McGuigan after the break. Welcome back. Jim Watt and I reflecting on the high spots of ITV's boxing coverage over the last 12 months. Now, there was no shortage of pundits who suggested that Barry McGuigan should quit the ring after his defeat in the heat of Las Vegas 2 years ago by Steve Cruz. But with great resolve, Barry has battled in the courts and in the ring to establish himself as once again a really solid threat to the current world title holders. It was a tough 2 years for the Clonus Cyclone, but purged of problems and still in his prime, he prepared for his comeback at super featherweight, a much more comfortable division in which to pursue his world title hopes. For the Irishman's comeback against Nicky Perez, it was a sellout at the Alexandra Palace, and the stars came too. Bob Geldof and his wife Paula. The stunning Annie Lennox was there. And so was our world welterweight champion, Lloyd Honeyghan. While Nicky Perez, the former NABF super featherweight champion, a second choice, was a very suitable test for the Irishman's return to the ring.
I feel very strong. The weight suits me better. And I'm looking forward to an impressive display. I'll expect a bit of ring rust, but I'm going to win.
Yeah, well, we're not... Comeback's a media word for fat heavyweights and old men, and you can't do that at 27. He's always been a class fighter. He's not going to go down the hill that quickly. Leading with the right hand, getting away with it. And if he wants to keep it up, he's got a good chance of stopping Perez. But fair marks here to the Mexican. He's fighting him back. What a good battle he's putting up. Brave guy. You can see now why the matchmakers put him in with world champions, Jim. He makes them, gives them a run, doesn't he? But now he's got to be hitting with a straight punch there. Crowd on their feet, but Perez isn't. And Nathan really bellowing in his ear. And he's got to let him box on. But for how long now in the fourth? It's all over, bar the shouting, I think. Taking his stick as much as he can. And I think that's it. He now knows, I can't cope with this guy's punching ability. Frustration sets in. He holds his hands high.
Oh, I'm too glad it's over.
Then, on a balmy June evening at Kenilworth Road, the home of the Luton Football Club, Barry fought out Act 2 of the comeback against Brazil's Thomas de Cruz. Barry was critical of his timing against Perez, but in the de Cruz encounter, we saw some of his old form return.
Love the way he stands right in front of the Cruz there. He's not scared to get inside punches, Jim. That takes a bit of doing.
No, well, this is the old McGuigan. We wondered if we would get him back again, but we do have him back again because everything is as it was before. Good attack, good punches, good power and good defence. It's really an excellent performance so far from McGuigan.
McGuigan really looking for that big finisher. He'd like this one to have the sort of finality of a gunfight, wouldn't he? That's the way back to show the Americans that I'm ready. And they're going right above us, and he really is showing the distress signals now in the fourth round. And yes, it's all over. There was inevitable finish.
And then, a month ago, promoter Frank Warren stepped up the opposition for Barry, overcame the Argentinian champion Julio Miranda. It became a tougher test than Barry expected, mainly because of 2 bad cuts near the eyes, sustained by accidental head clashes.
That's probably the best right hand of the fight so far, and Miranda's still standing there looking on, but that was a corker.
He's running out of time in the round. Oh, yes. I mean, it goes down, and ignore the bell if it goes and continue counting. But as he's on his feet, the referee can lead him back to the corner. Oh, there it is again. And strange enough, the referee sprung there as if he thought Miranda was going down. And the gun shield goes flying out. It's going to be stopped, I think. Any second, somebody's thrown something in the ring there. It looks like the Argentinian's thrown a towel in. And it's all over in the 8th round. Well, what a finish from McGuigan. He had one or two shaky moments there. I know he'll admit that. But at the end, that was the McGuigan that we saw in the heyday, the World Champions Day.
Do you think we could consider that fight a final audition for a world title fight, Jim?
Yeah, I would say so. Barry has been very impressive in his 3 fights since he came back, although I think it should be mentioned that each of the 3 opponents have had one thing in common. None of them have had enough power to trouble Barry, and the world champions at the super featherweight are far removed from Barry's 3 opponents. But I think the time is now right for Barry to box for the world title. I don't think a warm-up fight, another warm-up fight would do him any good. I think he's as good now as he's ever going to be, so I think the time is now to make a move for the title.
Who should he take on?
I would say Azuma Nelson, because I think that is the fight that would generate more money than any other. And obviously Barry's back for financial reasons as well as glory. I think Azuma Nelson over the years has made it quite clear that he wants to box Barry McGuigan. So I think that's the one that's caught the public's imagination. That's the one I would choose.
Will Barry claim another world title, do you think, at super featherweight?
Yeah, Barry's good enough. He's still world class. I think he's proved that. I'm a little bit worried. I think he took a few shots too many against Miranda. He can't afford to box with those tactics against Azuma Nelson, but then again, I don't suppose he will box with those tactics. He'll be a lot more careful. But there's always a danger when Barry's in with a big puncher.
Even before Barry's comeback got underway, we saw the final act of a drama that had spanned 63 fights. The last despairing effort by Tony Simpson to win a world title. His challenge was for the IBF crown, the custody of America's Frank Tate. One of the saddest aspects of that February evening was the maniac behavior of a lout who threw a CS gas canister towards the ring. At ringside, Nigel Benn was said to have collapsed, and Henry Cooper, a commentator that night, was very badly affected and no doubt distressed at such an idiotic incident. For the main contest, Tony Simpson entered the ring, a big pre-fight underdog.
Just trying to parry that left-hand jab away, notice. Some get through. They had 3 on the turn, didn't they? And that one, they're slipping past. Oh, that right hand. He's been showing out all along with that. He pulled it out of the fire. He's taken his gum shield out there, Simpson. He's not going to get up from this one, I don't think. I'm sure that he's left it too late, and he's counted him out in the act of rising. I'll make that about 2 minutes, 52 seconds of the 10th round, and he was just running out of gas, Jim, and he unloaded that right hand that came over the top, as they say, a downward arc, and it seemed to go right through from head to boots with Simpson, and he is choked.
Well, I think Sibbo's face in that 10th round told it all, Jim, didn't it? Enough's enough.
Yeah, I think at long last, Tony just lost all desire to go on. He'd given it his best shot. Tony was a great ambassador for British boxing for a long, long time. Unfortunately, he was along at the same time as Hagler, who was a super champion. But in the fight against Tate, he gave it his best shot. He realised it wasn't enough, and he just couldn't summon up the will to go on any longer.
Well, the middleweight division has always been our strongest suit in this country, and our current #1 is Harold Graham. Mind you, he suffered a severe setback when he last pitched for a world title. He was beaten by Sumbu Kalambe in a European Championship contest. But he's convinced he can go all the way. Certainly he brushed aside Johnny Melther's challenge for his British title.
He really is getting, as I say, busted up a bit now. His heavy nosebleed.
This really has been an excellent performance from Graham so far. He's done everything right. He's kept...
And he stopped in there, Jim. It's all over. And as you were saying, he's done it right, and you couldn't do it more right than that, if the grammar, in the 5th round. And it was simply, well, a one-horse race.
So there's no doubt in your mind that Graham will actually fight for a world title this year?
Yes, he will box for a world title in '89. He's the #1 contender. He proved it against Melfi. He still has all the old wizardry that he's always had. And you can never write Graham off. He's been called awkward in the past, but I think you have to realise that the man does have a lot of talent. And I think he's learned from the last time when he boxed Callum Bay, he changed his style and it didn't suit him. He's learned from that, and he'll go back to the old Earl Bomber Graham, and he must have a great chance.
But what about his management problems?
I don't think that'll affect him. It hasn't affected him in his recent contests. I think he can put that out of his mind. He has problems with Barney Eastwood, but Barney doesn't really have much to do with him. He doesn't work in the corner, he doesn't train him, so I don't think it'll have any bearing on the actual fight itself.
Well, one man who wants Graham badly, I don't know how badly Graham wants him, although they're talking big money, is, of course, the Dark Destroyer, Nigel Benn. The Commonwealth Champion's record in 1988, 9 wins, each of them inside 2 rounds. And this is how he does it.
He's willing to take a punch or two coming in. He did that with Reggie Miller, and this is exactly as he did with the American before. He didn't mind taking a whack to give one, and he's not going to make this. He's looking appealingly at his corner, and he's been counted out. He's a game enough guy, Jim, but I don't think he's in the class.
No, he doesn't quite know how to keep himself out of trouble. He doesn't have the strength to keep Ben away. He doesn't have the power to hurt him. And he can't work inside with Ben, so it's looking already like a matter of time. He's all over the place again. He doesn't know where to go here.
Oh, that's it. He stopped it, the referee, quite right. 1 minute exactly in the 2nd round, and the Indian doesn't like that at all. He's sending up a few distress smoke signals there.
The most important bout, I suppose, was against Umara Sander, from whom he took the Commonwealth title. And Sander had never been floored before.
Yeah, well, I've never seen anything about Ben that I don't like, but like everybody else, I've been looking forward to seeing against a little bit of class, so I'm really looking forward to this one. Already he's got through to Sander, but Sander has a good chin. Ben has been maybe a little bit wild in the first round, maybe being his first title fight. He wants to really get down to action. They have to tighten up a little bit, but maybe he just wants to show Sander how much power he has, and he's doing that right now.
Yeah, right above the commentary position there. He really gets off the mark, this fellow. He doesn't hang about, Ben. There's the countdown clock then for the opening round. As I said, he's had 9 first-round wins. His total career has only gone to 31 rounds. Oh, and he nailed him there, and he made it. No, he's just got 10 seconds. Now, the referee will continue counting. If the bell goes, that's in order. Adrian Morgan from Wales, make sure he's okay. He didn't actually take, and boy, did he pleased to hear that bell. Bit of an orchestra, that sounded. Oh, what a puncher this fella, Ben. There's no doubt about it. Now, that's the first time that he claims he's been knocked out, he's going to say afterwards, because he made a big point that he'd never been taken account or stopped, of course. Quick look at that replay, Jim.
That was a tremendous punch. Earlier in the round, I think the fight would be all over already. Tries to keep his feet. What a tough man he is, but eventually has to go over. A tremendous punch from Ben.
For the 2nd round, as we've always said, although Ben's been fed a fair share of ordinary fighters to knock over, we know the strength of this one, and that is a good performance to have had this fellow on the deck. It shows he can do it even when he starts to get up in class now. So whatever happens, Jim, he's past the testing time okay, isn't he? Yeah,
well, we wondered how much power he would have at top level, but he just showed us. That was a tremendous punch, and it's only the quality of the man, Sander, that he's still in there. But we'll see how fit he is, how fresh he is, if he can throw the effects of that punch. But what a tremendous punch it was.
Well, we never have to question Ben's fitness, that's for sure, or his power. Trains really hard and loves this business, and I don't blame him with the quick wins that he's had. And he really is doing a destruction job here. And he's done him again with the left hook there. And the referee was going to go in and stop that. He's pulled him off, and it's all over. He's really had to hold Ben back. No, he hasn't stopped the fight, Jim. I thought he did, didn't you? And he has now. He may as well have done. It's 1:30 into the round. I thought he stopped it after the first. He must be the quickest title winner of the Commonwealth Championship in only 15 months as a professional. The Dark Destroyer does it again.
So what do you think 89 holds in store for Nigel Benn?
I think Nigel is still at the stage in his career. He has a lot to learn. Obviously, he has enough power to hurt any middleweight in the world that they can catch cleanly. But it's difficult to gauge just how good Nigel Benn is. Too many of his wins have come too quickly. I was very impressed by his performance against Sanda. I mean, that was a class opponent, and he still wiped him out in a couple of rounds. But I still feel Nigel has a fair bit to learn. So maybe 89, you think, maybe just establishing himself, getting a little bit higher up the world ratings, maybe European titles, and then the following year maybe go for the world title.
Well, we're on the British scene, Jim. A word about our two world champions. First of all, Lloyd Hannigan.
Yeah, Lloyd, as far as I'm concerned, Lloyd is one of the best fighters, probably the best fighter Britain has produced in recent years. He's actually dominating the welterweight division, and I love his manner, his arrogance. I enjoy watching Lloyd box. I can't see anyone at this moment in time taking his title.
Starling is the next fight, and then maybe Molinares. And they're talking about a fight with the great Chavez.
I hope that doesn't take place. I mean, Chavez is at this moment in time a lightweight. I don't think he should come up to welterweight, which is a full stone almost, to take on a man of Hannigan's calibre. It's not an advisable fight for Chavez, who is nonetheless a great fighter.
And the other world champion, Duke McKenzie?
Well, I'm delighted to see Duke winning the world title, and I feel the night he won the title, he seemed to be boxing in second or third gear. He seemed to me to have much more to offer. So I think Duke's going to improve and become an even better champion. I'm very impressed by Duke.
Well, we'll take a short break now. Still to come, Sugar Ray Leonard, Thomas the Hitman Hearns, and the new middleweight sensation, Michael Nunn. But next it will be the Olympics, warts and all. Welcome back. Well, over the years, Olympic boxing has given us some rich memories. Not just the British golden successes of Dick McTaggart and Terry Spinks and Chris Finnegan, but also for the initial international impact of such names as Cassius Clay, the Spinks Boys, and Sugar Ray Leonard. Sadly, Seoul made no such contribution. Indeed, the 24th Olympiad boxing program was at times pure farce. And Reg Guttridge certainly identified the problems in the early stages.
Olympic boxing is the longest running competition of them all. 530 entries so far, which is 300 more than Moscow and nearly 200 more than Los Angeles. And to add to the confusion, because of the congestion of boxers, they're having to box in 2 rings at the same time. Ring A and Ring B. And they're going to hear, or they're going to hear. But what bothers me is the winner. What is going to confusion be when he has to swap rings for his next contest? Instead of hearing, he's going to hear.
Well, it finally happened in a light welterweight fight between America's Todd Foster and Korea's Jin Chul Chung.
Oh, what do you know about that? See, it's after this is going to cause some problems here.
Chung heard the bell, stopped, took a left hook flush on the jaw and collapsed to the floor. It was ruled a no contest, but it was the Korean's fault. He was told to listen for the buzzer. The American, who was not pleased, flattened him again the next day. Then there was the riot when the Korean officials attacked the New Zealand referee. He had penalised a Korean boxer who was eventually beaten on points. The boxer refused to accept the decision and maintained a vigil in the ring for some 67 minutes. In tears, he was eventually led away. The shambles continued, and no one could have paid a more unfair penalty than America's Roy Jones. All the legitimate experts considered he'd won very easily and convincingly against Korea's Park Si-hun. 2 accomplished judges saw it that way, but their colleagues from Morocco, Uruguay and Uganda went for Park. So Jones had to settle for the silver. It was a disgrace. It wasn't a great games either for British boxers, but Richie Woodall, our light middleweight, who coincidentally was eventually beaten by Roy Jones, did so well to win bronze. This performance against Ray Rivera did it.
Oh, yes, a good finish too by the Briton. That's the way to do it. And he gets a standing count. And if that doesn't see him home, nothing will. So that levels up the standing counts in the first against Woodhall. And now the Puerto Rican taking his. And that's it. And if this doesn't go Woodhall's way, well, I think I might just give the game up.
The winner is, on point, 5-0. In the blue corner,
And he gets it 5-0, so no surprises there.
A gratifying performance by Richie Woodall, but the chaos of soul really played into the hands of those that said that boxing shouldn't be part of the Olympic Games.
Yeah, I think it's a great pity. There was a lot of good boxing, a lot of good boxers in the 1988 Olympics, but the game is always going to be remembered. Boxing is always going to be the laughingstock because of the organisation, the chaos. It's a great pity. People have tried to ban boxing in the past, but usually on medical grounds. Now suddenly they're talking about kicking it out of the Olympics because of the problems that are being caused, but all the problems are outside the ring, and I think they can be resolved. I don't think we'll ever see the end of boxing in the Olympic Games.
Well, some 5 weeks after the Olympic Games, Jim and I were in Las Vegas for 2 big fights, but certainly the high spot was Sugar Ray Leonard's bid to become the first ring world champion at 5 different weights. His opponent, the blonde Canadian Donnie Lalonde, the WBC light heavyweight champion. They called it the super fight.
Speed. Power. The challenger. The champion.
He really is unbelievably crude at times, though, Lalonde. Well, I'm not surprised by that, because all the boxing traders did say don't expect anything polished, but he does get results, and he does bang with the right hand a bit, but against what kind of opposition? Oh! And when I say a bit, he banged hard with that right-hand punch. And that's only the second time in his career that Ray Leonard has hit the deck. He was down against Kevin Howard. Can he recover from this? Well, he might be a one-hand puncher, but what he does with that right hand at Lalonde is no fluke. Now, can this turn this fight right around now and knock all the confidence out of Leonard? Or will he just show that champion grit that he's shown so many times in the past and come back? He's definitely not getting out the way enough, though, Leonard. He's getting tagged here. As Jim Watt said, he's got a very sound chin and he's going to need it. What a gutsy character, though, there's no doubt about it. And there's some more blood flowing there, Jim. Where's that one from?
I think Lalonde's right eye looks at it's like, oh, Leonard's shaking him with these right hands.
What a comeback by Ray Leonard. Absolutely incredible. See, he knows how to put them all together, and he's done it in round 9, a minute to go. And he's banged the top of the ropes right above us here, Leonard, as if to say, you thought I was going, but I'm back again. He's giving him the mandatory 8 count. He's made Leonard go back to the neutral corner, but he is all over, bar the shouting now. It's a brave performance by Lalonde, but he has nothing left, and that's it. He won't get up from that one. The referee was about to dive in as he fell to the ground. There's no formality of the count. He's fought his heart out, Lalonde, but this man, Ray Leonard, is just one of the all-time greats of boxing.
Well, in that last round, Reggie showed what a great fighter he is, because he took some of Lalonde's shots. Lalonde found some more strength, hit him with some cracking right-hand punches. Leonard took the punches, come firing back, and once he got started, once he got him pinned on the ropes, that never let him off, and there was the finish. I thought the referee actually could have stopped it before the final knockdown, because I don't think Lalonde had recovered.
He was about to go in. He was just a fraction late getting to him there as he went down.
It was such an exciting evening, Jim, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a fabulous atmosphere. Once again, that the public really got behind Leonard, and it was a tremendous performance from Leonard. A great achievement, although I don't rate it quite as highly as his achievement when he came back to defeat Hagler, because I don't think Lalonde can be considered in the same class as Hagler. As far as world champions go, he's a pretty ordinary fighter, but he was so much bigger than Leonard, and Leonard being inactive again since the Hagler fight, it was a tremendous achievement.
It didn't surprise you to learn that he'd relinquished that light heavyweight title fairly quickly?
No, I think actually it was a smart move. I mean, we have to remember, Leonard dragged Lalonde down to 12 stone while he boxed for the 12 stone 7 title. We can never accuse Leonard of doing foolish things, and that was another wise thing he did. Although he did win the light heavyweight title, he won it at 12 stone.
What has he got to prove? There's nothing left, is there?
No, I just think he misses the game so much, and he has so much talent, and I think he retired at a time when he still felt he had so much more to offer. But I think now he has to be a little bit careful. I think some of the lively young middleweights coming up would maybe just be a little bit too hot for him.
And so who should be his next opponent? Hearns?
Yeah, I think they're maybe setting up for a return with Tommy Hearns. That looks a distinct possibility to me.
So, Sugar Ray Leonard's year ending on a massive high. But Thomas the Hitman Hearns was left to ponder on whether he should actually continue. The surprise of the year came in June. Hearns was defending his middleweight crown as a 4-1 favourite, but he lost it to the underdog Iron Barkley, and it was just one punch that did it.
Almost head down and blindly throwing punches there, Barkley. Obviously, he's a bit crude at the best of times, but if he can only see from the right eye, then he's got to try and edge it that way and look that side. Now he's just got a standing target at times there, Holmes. Oh, what do you think of this? A man taking a beating, throws one hit and hits the record-breaking Tommy Hearns on the chin in the third round, and he's going to get counted out, or if he doesn't, he'll be all over the place when he gets up. But Richard's still trying to give him as long as he can, and he's made it, but for how long? I don't believe this one, Jim. Unbelievable. Tommy Hearns right above our position, and we're holding our hands up trying to stop him coming out the ropes here. And the referee's grabbed him, and it's all over in the third round. He's literally on our television monitors. They pulled him back in the ring. Jim, do you believe what you've just seen?
I don't believe it. He'd completely broken up Barkley. We've seen Tommy wobbled a couple of times. We saw him wobbled a few times against Roldan. People have been saying he's reached the stage where he doesn't have the punch resistance any longer, and that looks the case because it was only one shot right out of the blue. Hearns was in complete control. Suddenly it was all over.
Yes, Hearns' ability to take a hard punch has always been in question. And against substitute fighter James Kinchin in November, it happened again.
Oh, and it's the Heat's turn to throw the right hand, Jim. Decent punch now. We'll find out whether he still absorbs them well, Hearns.
Well, Kinchin has been getting through now and again with these overarm right hands. He hasn't troubled Hearns, but there's been good solid shots. Okay, the main thing that I'm noticing, Hearns hasn't really troubled Kinchin with his punching. He's landed some good shots. Kinchin just keeps coming through them.
Oh, there it is, and again. Now we know that there is trouble with the chin, there's trouble with the resistance. Hearns was dominating until that round. The first decent, as they say in the game, punches that he was caught with, he went over. Now, there it is, out of nowhere, the Heat Kinchin's turning on the Heat, isn't he now? And is he going to do the same as Iron Barkley did, or is he going to slug it out, Hearns, and get away with this? What a fight it is. No, he's rocking again there, punch high on the head, and his knees buckled. They really betrayed him again there. Maybe he's never recovered from an incredible battle with Marvin Hagler. He's holding on there. They've got handcuffs, I think, Hearns. They're booing him as well. I mean, he is desperate at this stage, Jim.
Hearns is completely gone, Reg, completely gone. Instinct still to fight back, but he should be holding on here, maybe taking a count on one knee, just trying to get his head clear. But he is gone.
He's trying to see this round out as we get the clock in, but Kinchin's angry with him, and quite rightly, and the crowd are jeering. But it's desperation stuff. He's almost like the drowning sailor who's clinging to the mast there. Kinchin's every bit as good a fighter, I would have thought, now as Iran Barkley, and he's not marked as Barkley was, so he's still got more than plenty of fight in him. Well, what a deterioration this has been, and the man is a 4-time champion at different weights, Hearns now. Is he going to use his skill to get out of trouble again? He looks like he might have recovered as we get up to the end of that round. Chance of heat. Well, I must say now, I'm beginning to hedge bets a bit. I wonder how this is going then as we get the countdown. No, that was a slip. The legs bucketed. He certainly got awkward-looking legs, Hearns, but that wasn't the result of the punch. It was weariness and a bit of slipping on the canvas there. So there's the countdown then. And what a hard slog this has been. Crowd on their feet here. They've hardly heard the bell. They want to go on. And look at that. I always like to see that at the end. They've been talking to each other, but they have the great gladiatorial respect.
Larry Rosadilla has the bout 114 to 114. Bill Graham scores it 115 to 112. Cindy Barton has it 114 to 112 for the winner, who is now the WBO super middleweight champion of the world, the Hitman Thomas Holmes.
Has got it.
Well, Kinchin could have won that, really, Jim, couldn't he?
Yeah, I think Hearns was definitely out on his feet, and thanks to the bad handling, very bad handling by the referee, he saved Tommy's life. But as far as I'm concerned, he should have been knocked out then.
Well, you were saying, Jim, that Hearns might well be matched with Leonard, and that could be a big money fight, but surely Hearns has got no chance, has he?
I would like to see Tommy Hearns retire now. Tommy still has all the old reflexes, the power, the technique, but I feel his punch resistance has finally left him. Tommy's 3 defeats have all been inside the distance. He's now shaking with every half-decent punch that lands on his chin. I would like to see him just retire now. He's been a great fighter. Just leave it at that.
Well, back to the middleweights, and a man who many people feel has the ability and the style to be boxing's next superstar, Michael Nunn. His 30th straight victory happened in the spring, and the opponent was Curtis Parker. Then in July, Frank Tate put his IBF world title at stake against Nunn.
Under 30 seconds, round 8. It is scheduled for 15, the IBF middleweight title at stake. Frank Tate, the champion. Michael Nunn, the challenger in command. There was a crisp right by Tate that landed to the face, flush on Nunn's face.
3 solid punches by Frank Tate.
Combination by Tate, but no effect. Oh, Tate goes down! Looks like he's holding his eye, Gil. I don't know.
Looked to me like a left hook to the body.
Looked like a punch out of nowhere, a phantom-type punch. We couldn't see it.
It looked like he got hit in the solar plexus.
Now, the Goosens are claiming the fight should be over.
The fight is not over.
The fight is not over.
Goosens should just stick to their business and watch their fighter.
We will head into a 9th round. That is Joe Goosen, the head trainer, and now here's Jesse Reed. So there's a lot of confusion here now.
It's going to work. You're the champion.
A lot of confusion.
Bricks, deep breaths. You're no quitter. You've never been a quitter in your life. Don't be denied. Look at me. Don't be denied, son. This guy is all yours. Short, quick steps. Short, quick steps. All right, let's go to work. You got done tonight?
Let's take a look at that punch that dropped Frank Tate. There's a right jab, and there he sets it up for that uppercut. And there it is. Well, we were blocked out, but it was a left hand to the solar plexus is what the punch was. And Frank Tate, the same as Curtis Parker, did not see the punch coming.
He just got the wind totally knocked out of him. and he survived the 8th round. It is now round number 9. Michael Nunn trying to finish Tate off. Let's see. The Goosens were arguing. Now, I had mentioned that his eye looked to be in trouble. They thought it was a thumb to the eye by Michael Nunn.
Well, the punch that he threw when he dropped him was a left hook to the solar plexus. And Mills Lane is carefully looking at Frank Tate.
A blistering attack by Michael Nunn. The crowd going wild, and Mills Lane has stopped the fight. There's a new champion, a new IBF middleweight champion, and he is Michael Nunn.
With a brilliant performance, a completely one-sided fight.
By November, he was defending that title against the veteran Argentinian slugger Juan Domingo Roldan. Nunn forsook his usual flashy style and took a more cautious approach. Wisely.
Well, he has no fear of the opposition anyway, Roldan. He's been in with some tough guys, and I shouldn't think what we would call Fancy Dan's style of Nunn is going to bother him too much. But he's a good, crisp puncher, Nunn. Well, he proved it against Tate anyway. And he proved it there, didn't he? This fellow walks in with his face and then gets tagged. He did this against Tommy Hearns. And he's the only man who actually officially put Hagler down, Roldan. Well, let's see. They say he's not too much of a puncher, Nunn. Jim, they could have fooled me and certainly fooled Roldan. Oh, he's come back well there, though, Nunn. He switched that around. Well, he looked as though he was on top, and then suddenly he was simply sickened by those punches. Is he going to leave it too late to get up, Jim? It looks as though he is, yes. Counted out in the act of rising.
Interesting in that one, Jim, that he actually changed his style for Roldan, didn't he?
Yeah, Nunn has always been known as a Fancy Dan, boxing on the move, but for that fight he decided to stand his ground and prove he could fight going forward. And Roldan is always a tough opponent for anybody, but I think Nunn certainly improved a lot in that fight. He showed he has a lot more to offer.
How good do you think he is?
I think he's probably the superstar of the future, if you like. The problem he's going to have, there are no superstars for him to defeat. I don't think Sugar Ray Leonard could be tempted to go in with Nunn. I think Nunn is one of the opponents Leonard should forget about if he decides to continue. So that's going to be his problem, how to prove his greatness. But I'm sure someone will come along eventually.
Finally, what about the year ahead? Well, when I was in Las Vegas, I asked top promoter Bob Arum to give us his predictions.
Mike Tyson gets cranked up sometime maybe June of 1989, has 2 fights for the year, both of which he wins. One, unfortunately, over Frank Bruno. Michael Nunn unifies the middleweight division and becomes the emerging superstar in boxing. Julio Cesar Chavez remains undefeated, without peer in the lightweight and super lightweight divisions. Barry McGuigan wins another world title. Nigel Benn is knocking at the door and is ready for a world title shot against Michael Nunn. A fight which is the cause célèbre, the big topic among boxing writers in the English press. 1989 will be a good year, I think better than 1988.
Well, that was most interesting, and we shall see. Certainly, ITV will be looking after your boxing interests in the coming 12 months, and so from Jim and I, it's a very happy new year, and for the moment, goodbye.